What up, guys, and welcome back to Thomas Reacts here on the 360 experience with myself, Thomas Mabaso. So guys, I think Palapala, it is going to be one story that is going to take down the president. This story is in particular, it's one story that is going to take down President Cyril Ramaphosa, because if you remember, according to Arthur Fraser, there was a burglary that took place in Palapala and President Cyril Ramaphosa did not report it. That's why Arthur Fraser went to Rosebank police station to lay criminal charges against President Ramaphosa. He accused President Ramaphosa of bribery, he accused President Ramaphosa of torture, I think, and kidnapping, because according to Arthur Fraser, the burglars who got into Palapala were found and they were tortured and they were essentially bribed not to say anything about what took place there in Palapala. The president was questioned about this whole Palapala story, and the president did not deny anything about Palapala, because when he was asked specifically about the money that was stolen at his farm, the president said that that money comes from a Sudanese billionaire who happened to buy 20 buffaloes from me, and that money is clear. Even the South African Revenue Services attested to that, saying that the money was taxed and the transaction was above board. But recently we saw that the South African Reserve Bank released a statement saying that there was no perfect transaction between President Cyril Ramaphosa and Hazim Mustafa, and the 20 buffaloes that were supposedly bought by Hazim Mustafa were never actually delivered. So people started asking questions like, what the hell is that money doing at the president's farm then? Then who the hell is the owner of that money? Because President Cyril Ramaphosa spent a lot of time telling people that it was his money. That money came from a billionaire who comes from Sudan who bought 20 buffaloes. But now the South African Reserve Bank say that that money does not belong to President Cyril Ramaphosa, because they are saying there was no perfect transaction. Even the buffaloes that were bought were never actually delivered. So guys, earlier on today, the CIC of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, held a press conference, and on this press conference, guys, nobody was safe. Helen Zille, Lesetja, Kganyago, Mashaba, John Steenhuisen, nobody was safe. So guys, let's hear what Julius Malema and the Economic Freedom Fighters had for us today.
I've been in the space for some time now, and I will know some of these parties. So I really don't know if there are parties like that. The IFP is already having problems about that, where certain leaders of the IFP distance themselves from that coalition. Then you remain with the DA and Action SA. And the DA and Action SA is Helen Zille and Rampela kiss. That's
Kiss
what
of
they
death.
did. They made them kiss each other and then killed Mampela Rampe. And that's the same direction Mashaba is taking. You listen to Mashaba speaking, you will think it's a man who has lost his mind. He doesn't even have a sense of what is really transpiring around him, because he speaks against his own conscience.
You know, with Herman Mashaba, the one thing that is really surprising with Herman Mashaba is that Herman Mashaba was there in the DA. You remember even that time when he was still the mayor of Johannesburg, he was still under the DA. But for some reason, Herman Mashaba left the Democratic Alliance and opened his own political party. But right now, the same Herman Mashaba is willing to donate the votes to the same DA that he left. So I don't know how the members or the supporters of Action SA feel about this whole thing, because if you remember, there were a lot of people who went from the Democratic Alliance and followed Herman Mashaba to Action SA. But right now, Herman Mashaba is prepared to work with the DA. Is prepared to donate his vote for the DA to run the country, because we all know that the DA concocted the whole multi-party thing so that they can run the country in the future. The DA did not come with the moon-packed shot so that they can take a back seat. I think everybody needs to forget about that. The DA concocted everything so that they can come on top, because if you look, they are the biggest party there. So if the multi-party wins, the DA essentially is going to be the one in charge of everything right there. So I don't believe that we are all equals and everything, because all of these smaller parties under the multi-party has been doing a lot of interviews. They've been saying a lot of things talking about we are equal. Nobody is equal. There is the DA, it's Action SA, then it's everybody else. All of these parties are like, nobody knows or knows nothing about some of these parties that are in the multi-party. So
those are Oppenheimer parties. Well,
exactly, like I don't know how Action SA supporters are feeling right now, because if I was a supporter or a member of Action SA, I believe that I would be feeling sideways, man, because we follow Herman Mashaba because Herman Mashaba wanted to do his own thing without the DA, but right now he's going back to the same DA. So I don't know how Action SA supporters actually feel about this whole thing. Are they okay with their party actually working with the DA, knowing exactly that the DA and the leader of the party parted ways? So I don't know how that thing works, because if you remember, even that multi-party is looking to recruit Musimaimane with Build One South Africa to come into that coalition. And by the look of things, I don't think it's going to be so hard to convince Musimaimane to join the multi-party, because they are talking the same talking points. They don't want breaks. They want South Africa to still reserve the relationship with the West. They don't want breaks. They are talking about the same thing. Their policies are more alike. So I don't think there was a need basically for Herman Mashaba to leave the DA. Man, if you were still going to donate all of your votes to the DA, why did you leave the DA? Even Musimaimane, man, to some extent. Because I don't believe that Musimaimane is going to do so good all on himself, because I remember recently he did an interview with Sizwe Mpofu Walsh there on SABC talking about the fact that people follow people. They were saying that people in 2017 they followed President Ramaphosa, not ANC necessarily. So he believes that if people don't vote for President Ramaphosa, Malema, it is going to be him. So he believes that in his head, Build One South Africa is the third biggest party in South Africa. So I don't believe anything that Musimaimane is saying, and I don't think it's going to be so hard for multi-party to actually call him to join the whole thing. So one thing I don't understand is, why did these guys leave the DA? If you're going to leave the DA and next year you're gonna come back and give everything to the DA, why the hell did you leave the DA? Maybe Herman Mashaba should have remained there in the DA and did everything with the DA, because that's what he's doing right now. That's why I'm saying I don't know how his constituency feeling about this whole thing. I don't know how they feel about this whole thing. Even some of the guys who went from the DA to work there at Action SA are now working with the same guys whom they left. So I don't know how this whole thing it is working out, man. I don't know how the members and the voters of Action SA feel about this whole thing.
Must we say there is a measure?
I mean, like, if you are a supporter or a member of Action SA, you are hoping that maybe if your party wins, Herman Mashaba becomes the president of the country. But right now, if the multi-party wins, guess what? John Steenhuisen is going to be the one who's going to be the president with your vote. So you voted for Herman Mashaba to become the president of South Africa, only for Herman Mashaba to vote to be for John Steenhuisen to lead the country.
Between DA and Action SA, because they are Oppenheimer parties. The DA is given money by that lady of the Oppenheimer. I'm forgetting her name. Mary or something. And then the male one gives the Action SA. So they all balance them like this. And that's what you have. There's no any coalition of anything. It's the Oppenheimers playing with the minds of our people. And we must not it must be exposed.
I'm sorry guys, I have a bit of flu, man.
Exposed for what it is. It's a kiss between DA, Steenhuisen, and Herman Mashaba. They are kissing each other. The same way Helen Zille kissed Mampela Rampela. And then Mampela Rampela died from that poisonous kiss. With poisoned thin lips of Helen. Who said we don't have a problem, really? We never said we're forming a party to work with anyone. Once you form a party, you are on your own. because we could have joined the DA, we could have joined the IFP or anything of that sort. To choose to form a party is because you looked around and do not found anything that represent what you stand for, and therefore chose to take your own path. This is a path chosen by us. It's not chosen by the coalition of the DA. It's not chosen by the ANC. We chose this. We chose to be on our own. That's why we are not called EFF Plus or EFF Edition. We're not anything of that sort. We're independent. We shall stand elections as an independent organization. We will win elections as an independent organization. We will lose elections as an independent organization and accept the outcome with honor and acceptance that says to our people, we understand your message and will do better next time. We have no problem at all. Palapala report, really, just one sentence. I don't know why they say Koleka, when they say public protector's office, they also mention Koleka Galek. But when you talk about the Reserve Bank, you don't mention Lesetja Kganyago. Everybody is consistent in saying Reserve Bank, but Lesetja is not being mentioned. It's Lesetja who's created this mess, who has converted the Reserve Bank into a protection of one man. Is Galeka because it's a woman? Her name can be called with loose like that. You can call an institution and even call a name. There's no problem there. But this side, it's a male. And because there is a male who's leading the Reserve Bank, we can't call his name. The Reserve Bank report that was advocated for by Lesetja Kganyago, it's a fallacy, and its intention is to undermine that institution and protect one individual. Lesetja Kganyago says, there is no formal transaction. What is formal? Because Ntabanyoni produced a receipt. There is a receipt that there was a transaction. The president himself said it, that there was a transaction.
Really?
You, journalists, want to interview a man who was wearing Gucci and all of that in Dubai, who said, I came to buy the buffaloes. 3. Lesetja Kganyago just decide in one day to destroy all of his good legacy in defense of one man. In defense of one man. They say there was no formal transaction. And then Koleka this side says, no, there was a formal transaction and all of that, everything is above board. Then the Reserve Bank says, no, these people are tax compliant. There is no problem. Everything has been accounted for. What formality must we look for again?
Guys, this whole thing of Palapala, man, is confusing. Man. It is confusing because now these institutions are saying two different things all at once. They are saying two different things because what Julius Malema is talking about is talking about this whole thing right here that you're seeing on your screen right here. He's talking about this small statement that was issued by South African Revenue Services when they were questioned about this whole thing of Palapala. Because the statement says, a tax compliance statement issued by South African Revenue Services indicates that the $4 million sale of the game at the President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm in 2020 has been declared. A tax compliance statement issued by South African Revenue Services indicates that the $4 million sale of the game at the President Cyril Ramaphosa's Palapala farm in 2020 has been declared. So these people are actually agreeing with the president that the sale happened. They are agreeing with the president that the sale happened. The president said the sale happened. South African Revenue Services said the sale happened. But right now the South African Reserve Bank is saying totally different things. The South African Reserve Bank is saying that there was no perfect transaction there. They even go as far as saying that even the buffaloes that were supposedly bought were never delivered. So the question comes, what the hell is that money doing there? Who the hell is the owner of that money that was found at the president's farm? Because if the president says it is my money, but right now the Reserve Bank says no, it is not your money because there was no perfect transaction, which means you are not entitled to that money. It is not yours because there was no perfect transaction. So what is a perfect transaction? Because if the South African Revenue Services said that the tax compliance was declared, the acting public protector said the sale was legit, everything was above board. The president spent months working around telling people that money come from a Sudanese billionaire whom he did the business with, who bought 20 buffaloes. But we are learning right now from the South African Reserve Bank that actually that money does not belong to President Cyril Ramaphosa. So who is fooling who right here, right now? Who is fooling who?
The story was that there's a Sudanese businessman who lives in Dubai, who came to South Africa carrying lots and lots of cash in dollars, came through Oliver Tambo Airport, declared the money, bought buffaloes. And I'm sure all of us have heard this, that the Commissioner of Taxes, Mr. Kisbetter, have said there is no record of such monies being declared at OR Tambo Airport. So that record doesn't exist. It's not been found. But there's no assumption to a thing that it exists but has not been found. So it hasn't been found. And therefore the suspicion arises naturally. It's not part of money laundering. It arises naturally. Because I don't know how much money I've owned at any particular time, but certainly never owned $580,000
in cash.
And it's strange, it's odd, that the successful business person who's got that amount of money and can buy buffaloes walks around with that kind of money as cash. It's a strange concept. All of this it draws attention to this issue, to the question: are we not here
dealing with money laundering? That's what President Mbeki is talking about. So guys, to me this whole thing is confusing, man. It's confusing. The statement that Reserve Bank released and the statement that were given before, and the fact that the president was walking around proudly telling the people where the money came from. But right now South African Reserve Bank is saying the money basically is not his. Like, I don't understand. It's confusing to me, man.
So Lesetja destroyed the image of that institution. Lesetja destroyed his legacy. Lesetja destroyed everything he stood for. It is Lesetja who is at the center of destroying the good image of the Reserve Bank. And he must be called by his name. Why are you scared of Lesetja? What is so special about Lesetja? It's him. For career opportunism, because he hopes to be a finance minister one day. He hopes to travel the same path that Tito Mboweni traveled. He compromises the image, the good standing of the Reserve Bank. His name, Lesetja Kganyago, must go into history as a man who destroyed one of the good institutions of our country. And Reserve Bank, Reserve Bank, Reserve Bank, Reserve Bank. Lesetja's name is not being called. I've been observing this, that when it comes to the public protector, Koleka's name is called. When it comes to SARS, SARS has cleared that Kisveter's name is not being called. When it comes to the Reserve Bank, Lesetja's name is not being called. Males are being treated differently from females-led institutions. We are not going to be part of that patriarchal arrangement. Cut us out of that. My brother, the future in the EFF is not a position. Why, when you're being removed from a position, you say, I just said in the statement, they remain members of the EFF and continue to contribute. That's your future. That's my future. The future is not position. So we remove people from positions. You say, do they have future? What are you saying? We did not expel them. They are members of the EFF. In the EFF, we are not going to allow opportunism of the highest order. So please, you can be guaranteed, if they want to remain in the EFF, they are more, that's why we didn't take them.
You know, one thing I don't understand about the South African media is that if President Ramaphosa is indecisive, or maybe he's struggling to make some decisions, people in the South African media, they tend to say that President Ramaphosa is not a decisive president, he's indecisive, he does not act fast, he is not hard on crime, he is not hard on ANC, on corruption, on all these things. Then Julius Malema does the absolute opposite to that. He is tough. He is tough. Even within his party, he is tough. And guess what? The same media calls him a dictator. So if you are soft doing things, no, they call you indecisive. You can't even make decisions there. You are indecisive. But if you are like Julius Malema and you are making decisions, and now they are calling you a dictator. So this game that the South African media is playing, I don't understand it, man. I don't understand it. Every time when Cyril Ramaphosa says his favorite lines, I am going to consult with the stakeholders. We don't even know who these stakeholders are. Every time Cyril Ramaphosa says, I'm going to speak with the stakeholders and I will come with a perfect response for whatever issue that we are dealing with right now, people say that Cyril Ramaphosa is not decisive. They say that he's a weak leader within the ANC. They say that the ANC cadres are doing everything under his watch. But when Julius Malema does the absolutely opposite to that, they are calling him a dictator. So you will never satisfy the South African media. You will never. You will never. Everything that you do, they will criticize you still. They will criticize you still. Because a lot of South African media, they wanted Cyril Ramaphosa and the ANC to expel a lot of people from the ANC. But guess what? If President Ramaphosa had expelled a lot of people from the ANC, they were going to call him a dictator. A dictator who doesn't want to be opposed. A dictator who's not allowing anyone to say anything. You say one thing about Cyril Ramaphosa, you are out. They will call him a dictator. But when President Ramaphosa allows the institutions to do their work, when he allows the NPA to do their work, even though that they are slow, when he allows the ANC processes to like, people call him weak. So I don't understand, man. I don't understand. What is it? What kind of a leader does the South African media want? What kind of a leader does these people want? Because it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. Right here you have two different people. Ramaphosa, who is so cautious about every decision that he has to make. And I can't blame him. He's the president. He can't just make decisions just like that. He is the president. Every decision that he takes, it has consequences. So I understand why President Cyril Ramaphosa is so cautious with everything that he does. But they call him weak. They say the president is weak. But right now, just because President Ramaphosa was shaking hands with the Chinese president, they say now, yeah, he's bowing to the communist dictators. That's what they're saying, man. That's what they're saying. These people are different. It's Ramaphosa, it's Malema. These guys are different. When Ramaphosa takes time to make decisions, they call him weak. When Malema is decisive within the EFF, they call him a dictator, man. So what is it exactly that these people want, man? What is it that they want? They say that Ramaphosa will never renew the ANC because the ANC is so filled with criminals. It's so filled with all of these people that are committing corruption left, right, and center within the ANC. They said that Ramaphosa will never do anything about that because Ramaphosa is weak. They are still criticizing him today about some of the members that are still in the ANC, and some of these members are in the executive. They are still questioning him about that today. But today, Julius Malema is telling you that these guys were not performing to the task, and we are going to put them on the side. Guess what? They are saying Julius Malema is a dictator. Well, man, I'm so sick and tired of South African media, man. I'm so sick and tired of South African media, man. What is it exactly that these people want? It's either you want someone who is decisive or you want someone who's indecisive. It can't be that when someone is indecisive, you call him weak. When someone is decisive, you call him a dictator. It can't be, man. It can't be. You are still selling papers anyway. You can't be, man.
To DC. The DC may well decide not to find them guilty. The DC might find them guilty and expel them or suspend them, and that will destroy their future in the EFF. In the protection of their future, we said, let's take a political decision, which is allowed by the constitution of the EFF, to recall. Because those positions they hold are the EFF positions. You are mandated by the EFF. At any time, the EFF can recall you, including me. So I don't understand. What is this future? If the future is positions, then I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested. Well, and removing them from positions and having them remain in the organization is part of the rehabilitation. It's part of saying to them, you still need to learn more and have an appreciation. Maybe we prematurely promoted you into position of responsibility and you are not ready. Let's prepare you and then we'll consider you going forward. Look, the DA goes into its conference and declares us enemy number one. They go into their coalition things to the moon. On their way to the moon, they declare us enemy number one.
Exactly, man.
When you declare people enemy number one, it means you are in war with them. The DA has declared war against the EFF. And in this Central Command team, we have accepted the invitation to war by the DA. We're not scared of the DA. We're not scared of Action SA. We're not scared of the Oppenheimers. We're not scared of anyone who has invited us to the war. We're here today to accept the war and to accept that we're enemy number one of the white monopoly capital. And we will not be defeated. The DA will never defeat us.
And I understand why the DA hates the EFF so much, man. I'm saying this again because I understand why the EFF... Man, you have to understand, the DA has been fighting the ANC for such a long time. They've been fighting the ANC for such a long time. And out of nowhere, the ANC, the EFF comes. The DA never actually saw the EFF coming, man. They didn't think that the EFF was gonna make a lot of difference. That's why they kept focusing on the ANC. The DA never thought that the EFF would make a lot of difference. But right now they can see that we are focusing on the ANC, but these are the guys that we're supposed to focus on. Because if the EFF beats the DA next year, the DA is done. I think they understand that. I think they understand that right now. The DA is done. I think that is the reason why they even concocted this whole multi-party thing, because the DA cannot fathom the thought of becoming the third or the fourth largest party in South Africa. Then the whole purpose of the party would have evaporated, man. The DA has been fighting the ANC all of these years so that they can come in power in South Africa. They didn't see the EFF coming. They never thought that the EFF would be where they are today. They didn't even think about the EFF, but right now the EFF is the one that is actually causing more problems for the DA, more than the ANC. Because someone would have thought that, come on man, like the ANC is the one running the show. The ANC is the one doing the crappy work with no service delivery, with cadre deployment, and everything. It is a mess in South Africa. We thought maybe you would focus on that, but no, they are not focusing on that. They are actually focusing on the guys who have a potential of kicking them off number 2 spot. That's what they are afraid of. The DA is fine with being the second largest party in South Africa, but they are not fine with being the third. The DA is fine with being the second party in South Africa, the second largest party in South Africa, but they will not deal with them being the third or fourth largest party in South Africa. And more especially, they would hate it if Julius Malema was to kick them out. So I just think that is because the DA never saw the EFF coming. That's why they are so mad with the EFF, man. But just imagine, guys, you've been fighting someone for such a long time, and just when you're about to finish off this guy, another one just comes out of the blue. That's what happened right here. That's why the DA is so mad with the EFF. I fully understand why they are so mad with the EFF, man. I fully understand them. They've been fighting the ANC for such a long time. They've been taking ANC to courts for years, man. They've been exposing ANC corruption for years. And just when they were about to man, I swear, if the EFF was not in existence, a lot of people would be voting for the DA. They know that. They know that the DA was the only party providing an alternative for South Africans from the ANC. They knew that when people were so mad with the ANC, they would go to the DA. But right now, people are no longer going to the DA. Some are thinking of going to the EFF. And it's hurting them. So I fully understand why the DA is so mad with the EFF, man. I would be mad too, man. If I was the DA, I would be mad too. What the hell are you talking about? I would be mad. Julius Malema just comes out of nowhere, and now he's so popular in the country. Week in, week out, people are talking about him. And we are heading to election year next year. And as the DA, we got this idiot as a leader, John Steenhuisen, this idiot as a leader. This guy is not, he's the least likable DA leader the party has ever had. I don't know why the DA, they are fighting. The DA is literally fighting for its existence, man. The DA is fighting for its existence, and they put John Steenhuisen on the front. I don't understand that logic, man. Bring Helen Zille back, man. If you really want to fight the EFF, bring Helen Zille back, man. You'll never see. That's why even Julius Malema does not address John Steenhuisen. He addresses Helen Zille, man. Bring Helen Zille to the forefront. And Steenhuisen must go back to parliament or to play, or to go and play somewhere else. Because John Steenhuisen, he has to be the least likable DA leader the party has ever had, man. Even Mmusi Maimane was more appealing to the people. You remember when Mmusi Maimane was still the leader of the DA, when he was still talking that ANC is so funny. The guy was buzzing, man. The DA was buzzing. People could feel that the DA was here. But right now, ever since John Steenhuisen became the leader, man, the party is dead. The party is dead. All they are doing, they are whining. Week in, week out, they are whining. They are whining about something. Week in, week out, they are whining about something. But under Mmusi Maimane, the party was actually vibrating, man. You could feel that the DA was here. I dare John Steenhuisen to do what Mmusi Maimane did. You remember that big rally that Mmusi Maimane pulled? I think it was in Tshwane or something. I dare John Steenhuisen to do something like that. I dare John Steenhuisen to fill up a stadium. Do you think that John Steenhuisen would fill up a stadium? Man, come on. Are you insane? Are you insane? Do you believe that John Steenhuisen would fill up a party? Man, would fill up a stadium? Man, Helen Zille has more chances of filling up a stadium than John Steenhuisen, man. I'm telling you. John Steenhuisen had more chances. Helen Zille has more chances of filling up a stadium than John Steenhuisen. John Steenhuisen, I don't know, guys. I don't know why the DA put this guy on the front. I don't know.
ANC will never defeat us. So the DA should know that the invitation to war has been accepted. We have never declared war against anyone. We were doing politics and saw everybody as a political opponent rather than an enemy. But since we're an enemy now, let's go to the battlefield. 2024 will separate boys from men, girls from women, because the DA thinks that it can defeat the EFF. The white capital has invited you, the ground forces of the EFF, to war. It's up to you to decide if you want to be defeated or not. As the ground forces of the EFF, you have a responsibility to defend the movement on the ground. And you do that by winning votes. Let's defeat the DA and defeat the handlers of the DA. We must make sure that whatever happens, the numbers of the ANC and the EFF combined go beyond 55%, so that this DA can never constitute government without the EFF, and the ANC can never constitute government without the EFF. Someone said, we are the kingmakers. We are not the kingmakers. We are the king. Thank you.
So guys, what do you think about that? Please drop those comment section and leave those likes, guys. Hit that like button. And the most important part, guys, please subscribe. My name is Thomas Mabaso, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.